And now this is when we get into like complicated area because so we do this, this transition here, and presumably, Blondie got $3,000 for Tuco. Right? We don't see that, but he's going to be hung. But we don't know how many times that happened, right? So
it's just what we see on screen there, so just count that as one.
But we don't see that. We just see. But we do see him hanging.
Well, I said that in the last movie. I'm like, we didn't see it, and you counted
Good.
it, right?
Okay, that was my thinking as well. So I'm glad we agree. So there were a lot in there somewhere, but we didn't see it. So whatever. Now Angel Eyes, Lee Van Cleef, he pays the half soldier for info. Calls him a half soldier, which is, I guess it's a term of respect and also disrespect. So which is perfect for the bad to say to someone.
It's kind of like when I call you a half podcaster.
Exactly. Thank you. Now we see Shorty. That's another great scene where Eastwood, he's all set up. He's got the same gig going with another guy, and a guy's got Shorty is about to be hung, and then Tuco catches up with Eastwood, and he puts a gun to his head. He's like, "What about Shorty?" And Tuco's like, "Mm-mm." He's like, "Oh, sorry, Shorty." And then the guy gets hung. You're like, "Holy hell!" This poor guy thought he was gonna get, in this ski with Eastwood, and he's dead now. So, but presumably, obviously that's taking place. So Blondie got the bounty for that. So that's 7. And then finally is when they both get the money from the grave at the end. That would be 8. So that is where I came up with the number 8. Do we all agree with that breakdown of the money?
Let's take out the Shorty one.
Sure.
Take out the Shorty one because they didn't talk about money at all. There was no money spoken of. We know that he got it, but they didn't talk about it. There's no dollar amount mentioned, no nothing. So I'll just say 7.
So that's going to be 7. Very good. Mm-hmm. So that's going to make our money exchange count is 7 for the good, the bad, and the ugly, which brings us to a franchise total money exchange count of 25.
25.
Over the
lots of money so far.
5 films we have watched so far. Mm-hmm. So, Tom, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but how many dollars out of 5 would you give the good, the bad, and the ugly?
6.
$5 and change, absolutely. Yeah.
Keep the change.
Excellent. Zach, how about you?
I would also give it $5. This is the best one of all the movies we watched so far in this series. Is definitely at the top of my list. I also gave Sanjuro and Yojimbo 5, but this is now they're all on the same level to me, but that's above those. And this is, I gave the last 2 4, and I would retroactively. I'm like, maybe I should because I feel like there's a huge jump up between this and the last 2, and I gave those 4. I'm like, I need to retroactively put those down further. I don't know, but anyway, this is definitely 5 out of 5 for me, and I like how Tom threw in some change as well. So we love it. Brandon, why do you hate it?
So I gave this 3, and I got a couple reasons as to why
Defend
I gave it
yourself.
3. So I've recently made a determination that I'm not going to give half stars anymore. So that's my personal.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
So
why did you come to that determination?
Because half is splitting hairs, and so I'm like, okay, so it's just a splitting hair thing where you're like, you don't want to give it that rating, so you want to just give it a little bit better. Is generally how I rate it. So I've just
and you might as well do 10 if you're going to do half stars, might you?
Yeah. So I'm just like, because then you can give 5 stars or 7 stars or whatever, right? So I've made the determination. That's just me, and so I was in my head. When I was giving this half stars, I probably would have given it 3.5, right? But with this being in my new thing, I'm like, I just can't give it 4 because the length of it really detracted from me. As much as I loved it, the length detracted from me on this viewing. I am sure that rating is going to go up the next time I watch it and the time after that. I think this is a movie that I need to see a few times to appreciate, because Blade Runner, the first time I saw Blade Runner, I'm like, what is this trash? Right? I thought it was awful. And now it's a 5-star masterpiece to me because I've seen it. Same with 2001. 2001 has a lot of great stuff. The first time I saw it, I'm like, this is the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life. It's boring.
Show Brandon the greatest films of all time. He's like, what is this crap? I'm going to go watch Children of the Corn Part 4 again.
Part 4. But over time and seeing it and appreciating it and spending time with these films, I go back to them.
Yes.
It's not like, even if I hated these movies, I've gone back to them to visit them. I didn't like The Shining the first time I saw it. And these are all movies that have become 5-star movies for me, right? So sometimes I just need to spend some time with a movie to appreciate it. But those are also the movies that I tend to love more. Like, when we covered Halloween H40 there, and we covered the new Halloween movie, like right off the bat, I'm like 5 stars. Because it's what I wanted nostalgically. It's what I wanted in a new movie. And Rise of the Skywalker just came out, and the first time I saw it, I'm like 5 stars. And then I saw him again, and I'm like, man, maybe they're 4. Right? And like, there's a lot of fandom love that gives me that 5-star rating. And then maybe it might even drop a little bit on the next viewing, right? Where these kinds of movies, I'm like, this is not very good. Let's watch it again. Oh, this is better than I remember. Oh, let's watch it again. Oh, you know what? This is actually really good. So it's a different kind of movie, and my ratings tend to go like that. So, and I like that with those movies because I do like a movie that I can appreciate over time. Some of my favorite music albums, I've listened to once and been like, this is not very good. And then the more I listen to it, the more I appreciate it. My 3 favorite albums of all time, I didn't like the first time I heard them, and upon multiple listenings have become my favorite albums of all time. Massive Attack's Heligoland and Boards of Canada and their album Tomorrow's Harvest were all albums that I didn't like upon first listens. And, so I like those kinds of things because they mean more when I spend the time with them and learn to enjoy them. So I'm not dismissing this movie just at this time. I'm like, it was just too long for me right now. So, yeah.
No, that's fair, Brad. And I like how your ratings or rankings or perspectives on films can evolve. So
yeah, they definitely can. So,
all right. Well, that brings us to our final question: is this franchise fatigued? Tom, what say you?
Well, this may surprise you, but I'm going to say yes, with a slight caveat. Now, we talked in the past about how portable this sort of thing is. Yeah, they can go to the next town, they can have another adventure, and so on and so on. And with someone like James Bond, where the movies are all pretty much on a level, you might get one that's a bit better and then one that's a bit worse, but, they're pretty much all at that level. With this one, the second one I found was much better than the first. The third, much better than the second, which I loved. But I kind of think that go out on a high on this one. I can't imagine really improving on this. So it's a case of, while I love sequels and I love series that go on and on and on, I'm happy for this one to remain where it is. So it's not fatigued in the sense that it's bad. And my one caveat is that Clint Eastwood was approached for Once Upon a Time in the West, which would have kind of stripped it back to just him and a villain. And part of me would still have liked to have seen that. So that's the slight caveat. But I'm happy where they left it. So, yes, I'd say it's fatigued to a degree, but not in a bad sense.
As for me, I'd say no, because again, just like we were saying with Yojimbo and Sanjuro, like this is a character that can be picked up and plopped into any situation, right? And, while I definitely am sad that we didn't get The Man with No Name in Space, you can definitely...
Space Cowboys? He was in that, right? Clint Eastwood.
He was.
Perfect. I love it. That's now we now have to add another movie to our thing here. I think that this character can be picked up and plopped anywhere else, and with a Western especially, you can do anything. So, no, I don't think this is fatigued at this point.
Yeah, I would say no as well. Because it's not just about, although that was Clint Eastwood's concern, it's not just about his character anymore. It's about the supporting characters, right? So I would love to see another movie with Eli Wallach and his weaseling around, because that was such a delightful character to see. No matter what situation he would get in, he would find a way out of it in very different ways than Clint Eastwood's character would. So I think there were lots of potential for that kind of thing. A spin-off, right, with Eli Wallach,
spin-off.
Right? So
we also could have got Angel Eyes, a good, the bad, and the ugly story.
You could, yeah, his whole story as well. So the possibilities are endless. So let's release one Man with No Name movie a year for the end till the end of time.
Plus a new sequel trilogy.
Yes, and perhaps a streaming series simultaneously at the same time. Nothing bad can come from that kind of approach, I think. So absolutely not.
Nice transition. as we're recording this, just this weekend, a wonderful trailer has been circulating the rounds on YouTube and social media and stuff, and it's Il Mandaloriano or whatever it is, and it's like the Mandalorian done as the good, the bad, and the ugly trailer, and it's brilliant.
Excellent.
It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Yeah. So check it out. Go find it. We retweeted it on the UFP Earth Twitter page. You should definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. So excellent. Right on. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful having you. We're not going to have you back for the Bruce Willis one because you're a coward. And back. No, which is fine. We wanted to have you on for this one here for sure. But thank you so much for joining us. Please tell everybody where they can find you online.
Yeah, like this series, I'm going to go out while they're getting into it. But you know what a pleasure it's been. I love that you approached it in this way. You went through the whole thing, and you've got so much enjoyment out of them, and I hope that goes on. So thank you for having me. If anyone wants to hear my main show, it's the Twilight Zone podcast, which is at thetwilightzonepodcast.com.
Excellent. Right on. Zach, where can people find you when you're not hanging from the end of a rope?
Well, you can find me personally on Twitter at MoronZach. That's MOOREONZACH. I'm also the host of my own podcast, Always Whole in the Smallville. We talk about each and every episode of that Young Superman show over there. You can find us on Twitter at Always Smallville with one S. And finally, I'm a host of Standard Orbit, Trek FM's original series podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Trek FM. We talk about all the old and new adventures of Captain Kirk and the Enterprise over there. So, Brandon, when you're not smoking a pipe, watching somebody get tortured, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me over on Trek FM as well with a show called The Line, which is all about the new Star Trek Picard series. Our last episode was about the Star Trek short, which was called The Children of Mars, which I truly loved, and we had a wonderful discussion on. And coming up as of the release date of this, in just a week and a day, we'll be getting our very first episode of Star Trek Picard, so I'm very excited about that. You can find me over on Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast with my friends Chris and Tom, and over there we talk about Hitchcock's films in chronological order. And last but not least, I guess it's here. I guess that's it. That's all I'm doing right now is just those other two. So I'm used to whipping off a list of like 40 different podcasts, and I'm not doing that anymore. We'd like to thank our executive producers of the network, Ken Tripp and Tony Robinson. Thank you so much for all that you do for the United Federation of Podcasts. Thank you so much to Zach Tripp for our wonderful theme music. Check us out on Facebook, United Federation of Podcasts, on Twitter at UFP Earth, and you can send us an email, contact@ufp.earth. And if you could please give us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that. Retweet our posts, share them on Facebook, get the word out there. We think we got a great thing going on with this show, and if you love it, please share the love. But I guess that's it. That's all we got for you this time. Until next time when we cover Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis. Adios, amigos.
Sayonara.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.